What's up, I'm Joe, and my brain is broken. It's impossible to overstate the importance of your brain. In fact, most of what you think of as you can be physiologically traced to your brain. You are your brain. And sometimes we rely on our brains so much that we forget that they're actually interpreting the world for us. Which is why it's so strange when it becomes apparent that our brains aren't as in control as maybe sometimes we think they are. It might sound weird a little bit. It definitely sounds weird because I'm saying it right now. But our brains are as dependent on the rest of our bodies as vice versa. For example, we often don't realize it, but we actually need to be able to hear ourselves in order to speak properly. Speech centers in our brains are constantly monitoring the sounds that we're making to make sure that we're making the sounds that we think we're making. We take this constant feedback for granted, but when it gets messed with, it really screws us up in a way that we couldn't possibly predict. You might be wondering why I've been speaking like this, and it's actually not because I'm drunk or on any other kind of controlled substance. I have been listening to this the entire time. It's called delayed auditory feedback. So that speech center in my brain, it listens to everything that I say, gets really tripped up. It seems silly, but this is a universal brain hacky kind of trick that works on everybody.
Prerequisites.
She sounds like she's drunk.
Prerequisites.
It's no different whether or not you know how it works. It still totally screws with you. If you repeat their words back to them, it completely messes up their thought processes. It's the same thing that distracts you when your cell phone glitches and you start hearing yourself on a conversation with the other person that called on the side of the phone. On the other side of the phone. On the other side of the phone call. The speech center insists that everything be properly synchronized because that's how we evolved to understand where sounds are coming from. So when a video is even slightly off from its sound, it kind of flips out and your brain just like totally reboots. So in 2012, Japanese co-creators Koji Tsukada and Kazutaka Kurihara were awarded the Harvard University's Ig Nobel Prize for their directed delayed auditory feedback device. It's a gun that they call the Speech Jammer. And it does. It's actually the program that I'm using right now, and I've linked the program in the doobly. God damn it! Your brain is phenomenally improbable. It's a network of neurons so incredibly advanced and complex that even after all of this time with all of our modern science, we still know relatively little about it. It's a little disconcerting when the tool that you use to experience literally everything gets shorted out just because it can't hear itself properly. René Descartes wrote about how our senses are always deceiving us in his meditations. Meditations. He postulated that if we can't trust our senses to relay us reliable information, how are we to know that anything at all is real? And that's how he came up with the cogito ergo sum. Cogito. I think therefore I am. Descartes' ultimate answer to this question is that God gave him his senses, and because God has no desire to deceive him, his senses must actually be reflecting what is actually true, what is reality. I think this answer is really, like, preposterously lame. I mean, this is hilarious. If I were God, I would make everybody to do this all the time. So even though Descartes' answer was phenomenally terrible, I will say this, if I can. If there is somebody in charge of this hardware that we're using to experience the world, they need to release a patch because we are freaking bugged. 50 XP for us watching. Peace and love. Oh my god. I promise I'm not drunk. Please go try this afterwards. The link, again, is in the doobly that way. Okay, so I need to turn this into an actual tag. This is too much fun to not see everybody else do this. So I am going to tag Christina Horner and Hank Green, Hank, Michael Aranda, and Morgan Page Lives. I cannot wait to see how you guys do things with shut up.